everyone, Pushing Up Roses here, and welcome back to another gripping episode of That Time on Murder, She Wrote. Today we're looking at an episode from Season 2 called Menace Anyone? You see, the story is about tennis, but instead of tennis anyone, it's called Menace Anyone. Do you get it? It was brought to my attention after someone tweeted out this wholesome screenshot of Linda Hamilton and a baby-faced Bryan Cranston from the episode, as the two of them are the main characters. I've watched every episode of Murder, She Wrote, some a few times over, but the picture wasn't ringing any bells for me, so I felt compelled to rewatch it. Everything then came flooding back. This episode is a lot. And I know what you're thinking. But Roses, you say that about every episode. Yes, I know. I hook my audience with hyperbolic descriptions of this old-ass television show. I want people to watch my videos. But you're going to have to believe me when I say that I have never had such a reaction to an episode, particularly the ending. These were my notes. This is how my notes concluded. I had no other words. So strap in, we're going to dive into one of the most off-the-rails episodes of Murder, She Wrote I've ever seen, and we're going to talk about how the structure strayed so far from the show's original format that it ended up massively failing to have a cohesive resolution. As we begin the episode, we see a tennis tournament in progress, and why look, our lovely protagonist is hosting it as the J.B. Fletcher All-Star Tennis Tournament. It's a charity event. The proceeds go to a children's fund. Van Johnson and Linda Hamilton square off in some of the weakest volleys I've ever seen, and Bryan Cranston watches from the sidelines. And she's down. Oh, I just love watching my girlfriend fall on her bum. God, I love her. Hamilton plays a tennis star named Carol McDermott, and Johnson plays Elliot Robinson, head of the tennis club. Jess so happens to be friends with Carol because, as we all know, she just so happens to be friends with every single person.
I still can't believe I fell in my fanny in front of all those people.
That's English for vagina, you know. Carol is greeted by her boyfriend, Brian East. Yes, Brian is playing Brian.
Well, what have you ladies got planned?
Want to make some meth? There is your obligatory Breaking Bad reference. I hope you're happy.
Because I sure want you to be happy!
Meanwhile, another well-known tennis star named Sissy is demanding more money. Carol calls her out for the money-grubbing attitude, and shots are fired.
I almost mistook you for a tennis player. But then you started to play.
Well, I almost mistook your head as a cotton ball. Ooh, nice lamp. Anyway, Elliot and his daughter Doris, whose actress you may recognize from the Saw series, tell Carol not to worry about the extra expenses, and Doris expresses concern about Carol being trouble for the club. See, she once dated Brian, and she's also gunning for Carol's job. It wouldn't be a tennis episode without a reference to John McEnroe. In the 80s, he was a tennis player known for his outbursts on the court. This player, named Donnie, continually berates the umpire, saying his call was unfair, and Carol goes out on the court to give him an attitude check. Donnie's manager yells at her, saying the fans want him to go ballistic on the court.
What are you trying to do, make a monkey out of my client in front of his fans?
You don't need any help from me, sir. Jess stands up for Carol, and he also yells at her.
You I can do without altogether.
She's literally the guest of honor, you ding-dong. Later that night, a party. Wow, this is the worst band I've ever seen. What kind of music do they think they're playing? They look like they're rockin', but no one's a knockin'. Jess admires a photo of Elliot, his wife, and his daughter, and in the background she clocks Carol and her sister Barbara, who also used to be a tennis player. Who took this photo? The composition is horrible. Sissy walks in wearing this. Not everything about the 80s was great. Meanwhile, Jess is busy being a fashion icon. Sissy quits because she doesn't like Carol. You dressed up like this only to leave? Fine, now Sissy that walk. Elliot is upset and he asks to see Sissy's agreement. Brian goes to pick up the files but needs to use Carol's car because it's blocking his. So this guy is dead? Bryan Cranston? Oh no! That is not who I wanted to die! I've seen a lot of characters get offed throughout this series, but this was by far one of the most upsetting. A detective is assigned to the case, and in a complete contrast to the previous detectives Jess has to work with, he is thrilled to meet her. He went to a seminars on murder mystery and fiction, and he even asks for advice.
So tell me, what was I doing wrong in there?
They discuss the fact that Carol was obviously the intended victim and no one could have known that Brian would borrow her car. Then Detective Travis continues his interrogation. Carol is visibly distressed by what happened. Because Jess is so sweet, she offers to stay with her the night, then she says she will call her sister Barbara to see if she can stay the rest of the week. Carol has a visceral reaction to this and says it's not possible. The press hounds a few of the players the next day, and Elliot offers some thoughts and prayers and dedicates the rest of the games to Brian.
And we can only serve his memory by paying him the homage he deserves.
Serve. I get it. Why does this guy have a picture of himself behind his desk? Jess asks Elliot about Barbara, and he says that she died a few years ago on a plane crash, contradictory to what Carol said about her sister being back in town. Okay, so she's dead. Got it. Elliot tells Jess the last time anyone saw Barbara alive was 3 years ago when that horribly composed photo was taken. Jess tries to confront Carol about this, and she tells her that Elliot is mistaken. She hadn't died, she had just seen her a few days ago. Okay, so she's not dead. Gotcha. The episode is now starting to plant little seeds, making the viewer question Carol's mental stability. Jess confirms there was a plane crash and Barbara's ID had been recovered. She also finds her grave, but it's unmarked. The men she questions about the crash seem pretty certain that there could not have been an error and that the grave and ID prove it. Okay, so she is dead. Gotcha. Now here's where the episode truly jumps the shark. I've not seen anything like this in a Murder, She Wrote. Detective Travis visits Carol's home, perhaps for some more interrogation, and in a scene I was not expecting, he is murdered. I was absolutely shocked by this. I've never seen the detective character Jess works alongside get murdered by the killer. It certainly brought a new tone to this episode, that's for sure. Jess checks on the body. Oh no, he's medium well. She also finds poor Carol shaking in a corner. When Jess asks who killed Travis, she says it was Barbara, her sister. Okay, so she's not dead. What the fuck? Travis's partner is beside himself, furious that this could have happened. He speculates that he must have gone to Carol's house for some reason. He also blames Carol, accusing her of the murder, then pretending to appear unstable so she could get away with it, which is honestly ludicrous, but this is the detective work I've come to expect from this show. Don't worry, Jess will fix it. Jess looks for Elliot, but finds his daughter at his desk. She was wrapping up some business with Donnie's agent.
See you later, doll baby.
Doll baby? Okay, man muffin. Jess asks Doris if she knew anything about Barbara, and she says she's never met her, but she heard her once having an argument with Carol at her house. Doris goes on to say that she peeked into the kitchen where it was happening, and she saw a redhead smashing things, but didn't see Carol there. Jess says she has a good memory to remember something that happened 3 years ago before her alleged death, but Doris says this happened only 2 months ago. Once again, it's leading the viewer and Jessica to think that there is some kind of psycho situation where Barbara is dead and Carol is just pretending to be her. It's super weird and mildly uncomfortable. The episode pushes this narrative even further when Jess asks Elliot for more information on Barbara. He says she was a mentally unstable woman and spent a lot of time at a psychiatric facility. Jess visits the place for more information, and she's told by a patient that there was never a Barbara McDermott admitted, just a Carol McDermott. She knows this because she just gave this piece of information to a detective that stopped by the day before, Lieutenant Travis. Now the episode is really pushing the psycho-inspired story. Carol was admitted, her sister is dead, she's having hallucinations and delusion, and killing people as her sister Barbara. Jess goes to tell Detective Berger that she knows where Travis went last night, and before she can say much else, she is introduced to someone.
I'm Barbara McDermott, Carol's sister.
Oh my god. Okay, so for real this time, she's not dead. Got it! Let me lay this absurdity out for you real quick. Barbara was a drug addict and she became estranged from Carol and her family. Carol kicked her out of the house and Barbara took her car and headed as far away as she could. She picked up a hitchhiker about her age on the way, and that hitchhiker robbed Barbara, took her wallet, which included her ID, and ran. That hitchhiker was the one who died on the plane with Barbara's ID. Barbara figured this out and rolled with it because she was like, yeah, it's better this way. What? Why? Why is this better? After Barbara started sobering up, she contacted Carol to make amends, even though everyone thought she was dead. This is so weird. Where can this possibly go? Is Carol unstable? Is she not? Don't worry, Detective Cranky has the answer.
Casebook schizophrenia.
Okay, first of all, what? Second of all, did you say casebook? Did you mean textbook? They are all interrupted by a call. Carol had previously been held under sedation at the hospital, but she slipped out. Everyone heads to her house, which is totally ransacked. Nobody is buying this, right? This is all so clearly planted, and look at this busted-ass wig. No, Carol would not wear this wig. This is sus. The detective thinks Carol is dangerous, but Jess is determined to prove otherwise. Jess confronts Elliot and asks him why he removed the photograph from the trophy case, something that happened off-screen. It was the picture of him and his family with Barbara and Carol in the background. She says that Doris had lied to her. She clearly had met Barbara 3 years ago, even though she told Jess she had never seen her, just the back of her head, when her and Carol were in a fight. Elliot knew his daughter lied about Carol and Barbara. She wanted Jess to believe Carol was crazy, that she put the bomb in her own car, killed the detective, and was a threat to everyone. Elliot wanted to protect his stupid-ass daughter, so he hid the photo and helped her with the whole Carol is nuts story. He planted the wig, the dynamite, and also picked up Carol from the hospital. Jess finds Carol passed out in her office on pills, probably barbiturates. Barbitals, get it? Barbricide! Elliot confesses to all of his daughter's murders, the bomb, the murder of the lieutenant, her extreme hatred for Carol, and at first, I'm not buying it. Where is Doris? Why is someone else confessing for her? There must be at least 10 minutes left, right? Surely Elliot is the real murderer. Jess always confronts the real murderer. Later on, she checks on Carol, she's doing better, and she wants to reconnect with her sister.
Oh, I think you two are going to see a great deal of each other for a long, long time to come.
What? What was that? Okay then, final thoughts. So this was not your typical Murder, She Wrote episode. It strayed so far from the show's paradigm that I was left super confused at the end. The first thing that I talked about earlier was the murder of the detective. That never happens. I can't think of another episode where it does, but okay, sure. Maybe they want to mix it up a bit. Formulaic series can get tiring, so you gotta expect some change-ups every now and then. But this episode is a lot. Not only does the detective eat it, Jess is never shown confronting the actual murderer. In fact, the murderer, Doris, hardly showed up at all. There is a motive set up, and it's not a flimsy one. It actually makes the most sense. Brian used to date Doris. Carol came in and got Brian and a high-end job that Doris wanted. That was established early in the episode. But after that, Doris is not a key player. I can't believe she doesn't even get cornered by Jess in the end, which is one of the most satisfying things about murder mystery, especially in this show. Why am I not seeing the bad guy get their comeuppance? And where in the world did Carol get those pills? It's honestly not clear. At the end, she feels better, Jess reassures her, and nothing is explained. I thought that Elliot was the murderer and was using his daughter as a shield. Maybe he tried to murder Carol and stage it as a suicide attempt, but I guess not. I guess it's all fine. I don't mind a plot in the style of a thriller, but this entire is Carol just bonkers thing is strangely uncomfortable. I don't know if it just hit too close to home for me, being someone who had her sanity questioned, or if Linda Hamilton acted the shit out of this part so hard that I genuinely felt tense. It's certainly one of the more creative stories with more twists and turns than an Escher painting, but on the other hand, it does just regurgitate plot points from other stories like aforementioned Hitchcock film Psycho, so I guess creative is a bit of a stretch. There was an attempt made to make this episode more serious, heartbreaking, and more complex. Then right as the episode got to the finish line, it tripped and splattered all over the ground. The ending is so terse, it's like the writers ran out of time, or they just had no idea where to take the script, so they just kinda ended it. That all being said, it was so confusing that I definitely got some enjoyment out of it. It was entertaining, I'll give it that. I just wish there had been a little more thought given to the ending and the role of the murderer, because the resolution really did feel shoehorned in. Still worth it to see a young Bryan Cranston and Linda Hamilton. Just get ready to be a little frustrated. If you have an episode of Murder, She Wrote you are dying to see me cover, please leave a suggestion in the comments, and until then, happy sleuthing. Hey everyone, thanks for watching me talk about this ridiculous episode of Murder, She Wrote. I have many more breakdowns like this one, but first I want to thank my patrons for allowing me to follow my dream of becoming the internet's best Murder, She Wrote reviewer. If you want to enable me, please consider donating to my campaign, and if not, you know, it's cool. We're cool. If you want to watch some other videos that are in the same vein as this one, I have a couple suggestions on the screen. On the left is the very first episode of Murder, She Wrote I covered, and it's one of my personal favorites, and on the right is the previous episode I covered. Thanks again, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.